Hello everybody, Mrs. Kit back again with another fairy tale. Yesterday we read Sleeping Beauty by the Brothers Grimm, and today we are going to read Rumpelstiltskin, which I think some of us might not have heard before. So it'll be a brand new fairy tale. I'm excited. So our objectives for today will be to demonstrate familiarity with the fairy tale Rumpelstiltskin, identify the fairy tale elements of Rumpelstiltskin, identify fairy tales as a type of fiction, and we will identify common characteristics of fairy tales such as once upon a time beginnings, royal characters, elements of fantasy, problems and solutions, and happy endings. Well, I hope this one has a happy ending. Let's find out. Here's our first picture. Once upon a time, there was a poor miller who had a beautiful daughter. A miller is a person who grinds grain to make flour. She was so beautiful and clever that he could not help but boasting about her. Boasting is another word for bragging. He speaks very proudly about his daughter, saying she's clever, means she's smart and able to figure things out quickly. One day the miller happened to come before the king, and to impress the king, he began boasting or bragging about his daughter. And before he knew it, he found himself saying that his daughter was so amazing and so wonderful, she could even spin gold out of straw. "That," said the king, "is a talent worth having. Bring your daughter to me and let me see what she can do." So remember, thread and yarn are made by spinning plant parts or animals' wool. Do you think the daughter can really spin gold into straw? We'll see. When the girl was brought to the palace, the king led her to a room that was almost full of straw. He pointed to a spinning wheel and said, "Get to work. You must spin this straw into gold by early morning, or else." The poor miller's daughter, of course she could not spin straw into gold. What could she do? She could think of nothing, and in the end she sat down and began to cry. What would you do? You were stuck in there and the king said, "You better spin all of this straw into gold by morning or else." I'd be looking for a window to climb out of. And that's when all of a sudden, click, the door opened and a man walked in, a little man. "Good evening, miller's daughter," he said. "Why are you crying?" "Because," she answered, "I must spin all this straw into gold before morning, and I don't know how." Then the little man came close to her and whispered, "What will you give me if I spin it for you?" "Why, I'll give you my necklace," she stammered. Think he can spin this straw into gold? Let's see. The little man took the necklace, stood at the spinning wheel, and whirl, 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 he spun and spun, and by sunup all the straw had been spun into gold. When the king arrived at sunrise, he was amazed, but the sight of all that gold made the greed for more in him to grow. What does it mean if you're greedy? It means you can't get enough, you want too much. So the king took the miller's daughter to a large room, filled with yet more straw, and told her that she must spin all this into gold in one night. Again, the girl did not know what to do and sat down to cry when, click, the door opened and in walked a little man. He's back. "Crying again, I see," he said. "So I suppose you have to spin all this into gold too. What will you give me if I do it for you?" "The ring from my finger," answered the girl. So the little man took the ring, stood at the spinning wheel, and whirl, 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 he spun and spun and spun. When the king arrived, he was overjoyed at the sight, but hungry for more gold. So he took the miller's daughter to an even larger room filled with straw and said, "Spin all of this in one night, and if you succeed, well then, you shall be my wife." So to succeed means to have something turn out the way you want it to. The king had hardly left the room when, click, the door opened and in came the little man asking, "What will you give me if I spin all this straw for you one more time?" "I have nothing left to give," the girl answered sadly. "Then promise me this," said the little man. "Promise me that when you are queen, you will give me your first child." The miller's daughter thought there was really very little chance that she would ever be queen, so she promised, and the little man set off to work. By morning, the gold was piled so high that it reached the ceiling. When the king arrived, he was pleased to see all the gold he wanted. He married the miller's daughter and made her queen. Would you feel very special if the king only wanted to marry you because you could spin straw into gold? And just a few days ago, he was saying you better spin all this into gold or else. I don't know if I'd want to marry him. In a year's time, the king and queen had a fine little baby. She thought no more about the little man or her promise to him. Then one day, as she sat alone in her room, rocking her baby, click, the door opened, and in walked the little man, who said, "Now it's time for you to give me what you promised me." The queen, filled with fear, held her baby tightly. "Please," she said, "I'll give you all the riches of the kingdom. Only leave me my child." But the little man said, "No, I'd rather have a living being than all the treasures in the world." The queen began to weep and wail, and the little man felt pity for her. So feeling pity for somebody is a feeling of sadness for someone who is unhappy. Okay, I will give you this one chance," he said. "In 3 days, if you can guess my name, then you may keep your child." And then he was gone as quickly as he could come. You notice they keep calling him the little man. They've never told us his name. The queen lay awake all night thinking of all the names she had ever heard. She sent a messenger to ride through the land and collect all the names that could be found. And when the little man came the next day, she tried to do what she had been thinking of. Alexander, Balthazar, Casper, Doolittle, Eggleston, Ferdinand, and many more. But after each, the little man said only, "That is not my name." The next day, the queen sent servants all around the kingdom to find the most unusual names. And when the little man came, she tried them. "Are you called Sheepshanks, Roast Ribs, Snickerdoodle, Groucho, Winklehopper?" But after each, the little man said only, "That is not my name." What do you think his name is? On the third and last day, the queen was worried sick. She held her child tight and wondered what to do, when, click, the door opened and in walked, no, not the little man, but the messenger the queen had sent in search of names. He bowed to the queen and said, "My lady, as I passed through the woods last night, I came to a hill, and near it was a little house. And outside the house a fire was burning, and around the fire danced a funny little man. And as he hopped up and down, he sang, 'Today I brew, tomorrow I bake, and then the fair queen's child I take. And no one can deny my claim, for Rumpelstiltskin is my name.'" The messenger left, and almost as soon as he had gone, the little man arrived. The queen greeted him by asking, "Is your name Jack?" "That is not my name." "Then are you called Harry?" "That is not my name." "Then perhaps," said the queen, "your name is Rumpelstiltskin." "No, no, who told you that?" cried the little man, and in his anger he stamped with his right foot so hard that it went into the ground right up to his waist. Then he stamped his other foot, and he went deep into the ground way over his head, and the queen and her child never feared him again. The end. All right, let's go over a few questions. If you have somebody that was watching this with you, you can discuss your questions with them. If not, you're stuck with me. All right. How did this fairy tale begin? This fairy tale began with the miller boasting or bragging about his daughter to the king. And the fairy tale begins with the words, "Once upon a time." What talent does the father boast or brag about that his clever daughter has? What did the miller tell the king that his daughter could do that was so special? The ability to spin gold from straw, which wasn't even true. She couldn't do that. What problem does the miller's boasting or bragging make for his daughter? Because remember, she can't really spin straw into gold. And her father, the miller, told the king that she can. So what problem does she have? The king says she has to spin gold for him, or else. We didn't find out but what the or else was, but it wasn't going to be good. When the daughter is crying because she can't spin gold from straw, who comes into the room? A little man. They keep calling him the little man before we find out his name. That's who keeps coming into the room. What does the daughter promise the little man each night he spins gold for her? Remember, the first 2 nights she gives him things that she has, and then she doesn't have anything else to give. So the first time he comes, she gives him her necklace. And the second time he comes, he gives her ring. And then when he comes the third time, she doesn't have anything left to give. So she promises that when she has her first child, she'll give her first child to the little man. Do you think the daughter made a good decision to promise her first child to the little man? I don't think that was a good decision, but remember in the fairy tale it said that she didn't think that the king was serious, that she would really be queen, and that she would even have a child to give. And since she didn't have anything to give at the moment, and she was scared of what the king's or else threat was, it's kind of all she had to work with. So she was kind of stuck, but not a good decision. When the little man goes to see the queen to make his claim for the child or to take the child, the queen starts to cry and he feels pity for her. He then gives her a chance to get out of her promise. What does the queen have to do in order to keep her child? So the little man feels bad that she's so upset. She doesn't want to give him her baby. So what's the deal he makes with her? She has to guess the little man's name in 3 days. How does this fairy tale end? The queen guesses Rumpelstiltskin's name, and he's so angry that he stomps himself into the ground. That's a pretty big tantrum, to stomp yourself into the ground. Is it a happy ending for the queen? Sure is. You're stomped into the ground by Rumpelstiltskin. All right. An important vocabulary word from this lesson was the word succeed. Succeed means to do well and reach a goal, or to have something turn out the way you wanted it to. I knew Rory would succeed at earning a black belt in karate because she worked so hard. What kinds of things help someone succeed? What do you have to do to succeed at something? Usually succeed by practicing something over time. Sometimes you succeed the first time, but a lot of times you have to keep trying, try new things, and then you succeed at what you're trying to do. Okay, so I am going to read 2 different choices to you, and you are going to tell me which choice would help someone be more likely to succeed. All right, here's the first one. Listen carefully to the teacher or not pay attention in class. Which choice would be more likely to help you succeed? Listen carefully to the teacher or not pay attention in class? Listen carefully to the teacher, always, always, always. That will help you succeed. Next one, practice your violin every day. Don't practice your violin at all. Practice your violin every day. Don't practice at all. Which one's going to help you succeed? Practicing your violin every day is going to help you succeed. You're going to get better and better as you practice. Next one. Finish your homework in front of the television. Work on your homework carefully at home. Finish your homework in front of the television. Work on it carefully at home. Work on it carefully at home, right? If you're watching TV, you're distracted. That's not going to help you succeed. Work on it carefully at home. The road to success. Last one. Practice free throws or hope that you'll make a basket at the basketball game. Practice free throws or hope you'll make a basket at the basketball game. Which one's going to help you succeed? Practice free throws, right? The more you practice, the better you get. That will help you succeed. All right, that's it for today, guys. Tomorrow, we are going to read Rapunzel, which I think maybe some of us have heard that one before. I've heard that one before. All right, I can't wait for that. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.